Hi there, here I am with a selection of fabric ready to start another set of sensory cushions. It started out in the strangest way. I had a request from a lady to turn her old wedding dress into something for her granddaughter. Her granddaughter, I happened to know, was on the autistic spectrum and had special needs where touch was concerned. She was really hypersensitive to different textures. And so I created my first sensory cushion using various bits of the wedding dress and bits of velvet and things thrown in as well. It actually went down such a storm. The child loved it and the mother loved it and everything was great that people actually started to request that I make them for them. And I had another order came in for 6, which was a bit like, ooh! So I thought there's obviously a market out there. There are people who, like this young lass, are very sensitive to different textures and touch. But especially at the time that we've been going through at the moment, there's lots of people suffering with anxiety and stress, and it's not always possible to have a pet in the house to stroke. Everybody knows that helps to relieve things. So I started to make these sensory cushions that are weighted inside, so they've got a nice feel about them and they're nice to hug. But there's also bits on them to stroke and fiddle with, because we all like to mess with things. So I use a lot of recycled fabrics. This was an old fur coat, which is absolutely gorgeous to feel. We've got a fleecy dressing gown, satin. This is actually it was a ball of special yarn. Just an oddball knitting wool, but when it's knitted up it gives you lots of different textures. So that panel goes in. We've got some bobbly stuff, and I also use things like satin ribbon because it's really nice to just stroke. Cord is really good for that as well. We've got things like fringing. You can just run your fingers through it and bobbles, things like that. So basically what I do is I gather all this material together and then I start to lay it out. So there, something like that, there, good, oh let's have a bit of furring down here. There. You could also have some tassels sewn in like that. So I just play about with it really until I get something that I think looks quite nice. Then take a photograph of it, because the next thing I'm going to do is take it all apart so that I can start sewing it. So once I've laid them out, it's time to start pinning them and sewing them together. That's not the easiest task in the world because they're all different fabrics, they all stretch at different ways, and if you've ever done any sewing you'll know that that can be quite tricky. But I put them together as best I can. This one for instance, we've got a little bit of patterned in there, we've got some, that was actually lining of a coat, and we've got some satin. This again is the textured wool, and then what I'm using for the backing is actually an old cord skirt with pockets on, so when it's sewn together there'll be little tabs in there with tassels and things in, so you can hug it and stick your hand in the pocket as well. So that one. This one again, we've got an old jumper in the middle that just makes it really nice and soft to put your face on, and these velvet ribbons will be caught in here, so you'll be able to stroke those. I've tried to do bright colours and darker colours. People have different tastes, male, female, doesn't really matter. Each one is totally unique, so I can, once it's gone, it's gone. I can't replicate it. It's just the fabrics that I happen to have. This one I did as a sample to show a really bright side, showing some ribbons on there. and a more muted pretty side, that's flannelette sheet, satin curtains, and a little bit of lace that's been sewn over something else, so you've got that texture there. So basically get them all sewn together like that, find my backing, and we go from there. So as I said earlier, these cushions are weighted, and we do that by, I've got some sheeting material that's been coated with a solution of PVA and water. Just makes it a little bit more sturdy and not likely to liable to leaks. I've also got some lavender, which I've grown in my garden and dried, so that goes in the pouches as well. And this is risotto rice, but I usually use pearl barley, 500 gram packs, so it's a 500 gram weight inside. Sew this all the way around, turn it round and inside out, and then sew it again, so everything's really sturdy. That pouch goes inside your cushion, and then it's stuffed around it and sewn up. There we go, there's another sensory cushion done and ready to go. This one's got pinks and greys, a nice back, feels comfortable weight, and it smells of lavender, which is nice too.